As the Dominican Sisters of Springfield celebrate a century and a half of service, we invite you to reflect with us on God's providential care for the congregation. From the beginning in 1873 to now, we strive to live as Christ lived, poor, chaste, and obedient, so that our lives bring joy and hope for the life of the world. 6 sisters arrived in Jacksonville in the Diocese of Alton, Illinois, on August 19, 1873. They were anticipating a 2-year assignment. Challenges abounded. The little convent was barely adequate. Because they were the first Catholic sisters in the predominantly Protestant city, they endured stares and whispers. Even so, parishioners at Our Savior's Church and their pastor, Father P.J. Mackin, provided a warm welcome. Setting up for the school year required sorting about 400 girls and boys into grades. Co-ed Catholic schools were unusual at the time, and one reason Kentucky Dominican sisters were asked to staff the parish was their willingness to teach boys and girls in a single school. President Grant bestowed an unforgettable honor on the young community in 1874 when he invited 2 sisters to Springfield for the dedication of the tomb of President Abraham Lincoln. Sister Josephine Maher and Sister Rachel Conway, both of whom served as nurses in the Civil War, represented hundreds of Catholic sisters who had served in the recent conflict. As they returned to Jacksonville, little did they guess that a great change loomed on the horizon. The sisters expected to return to Kentucky after the school year closed in 1875. Imagine their excitement after a 2-year absence to see old friends and familiar sights at home in the bluegrass state, but it was not to be. Father Mackin asked why they were packing. Wasn't it obvious? They were going home for the summer. But Father Mackin informed them that they had been independent from Kentucky from the beginning. That was the arrangement their superior made with the bishop. They were stunned and didn't believe him until he procured proof from the bishop's office. The news was so unsettling that each sister made a copy of the letter for her personal reflection. The sisters present that day were Josephine Maher, Rachel Conway, Cecilia Carey, Mary Agnes McGuire, Mary Thomas White, Mary Catherine Young, Thomasina Simpson, and Alberta Rumpf. After a time of intense prayer, the little community became the Congregation of St. Rose of Lima. Larger quarters were necessary to accommodate new growth. Conveniently, the parish had an old rectory to sell, but the down payment of $600 wiped out their savings. Growth of the congregation led to decades of debt as ever larger facilities were needed. Yet the burden was more than balanced by the happiness of accepting young women into the family of St. Dominic. The first sisters sent on mission from the convent in Jacksonville traveled to Ruma, Illinois in 1879 to teach English to newly arrived German-speaking sisters. 2 years later, the sisters founded the Academy of St. Rose of Lima in Jacksonville for the education of young women in what had been the Yates Mansion. As the community grew, additional missions opened, and the mother house became crowded with candidates and novices. Once again, more spacious accommodations were needed. The decision to move to the state capital of Springfield was not an easy one. Some professed sisters felt they should remain in Jacksonville, perhaps purchasing land on the outskirts of town. Others advocated for Springfield. Monsignor Timothy Hickey, pastor of St. Mary's in the capital city, lobbied for Springfield. He came to know our sisters because they taught at St. Mary's School. He argued that the capital city was sure to prosper and grow. Monsignor Hickey and Mr. Charles Rout helped the sisters obtain property on the western edge of town. The Dubois home was an Italianate mansion with sufficient room to accommodate professed sisters, candidates and novices, and students. They moved in July 1893 and acquired a new name, the Congregation of Our Lady of the Sacred Heart.